my favorite driver, and most of you don't know that. I was enamored with the Chrysler Stackers. And what you also don't know is you know the sound of it right now, but you don't know the sound of it when it was in competition. And it turned another couple thousand RPMs. So it was really screaming back in those days. So that's about all I wanted to say about that. And I'd have a note here from Nemo. Nemo wrote a little eulogy, if you want to call it that. 1937 likely means many things to just as many people. To some, it was the year of the Golden Gate Bridge opened. To others, it was the year the Glenn Miller Band debuted in New York. It was the year the New York Yankees beat the New York Giants 4-1 in the World Series. For me and this glorious family of Boataholics, 1937 represents an icon of a man, a friend, a competitor, a mentor, and the loudest, most respected ambassador of our sport. Resonating decibels beyond imagination off the banks of every venue he attended, Wild Bill Edwards has left the shores of Maryland and is carefully eyeing the conditions of heaven's waters, lighting the candles to everyone's amazement there. I know he's assembling an outboard posse, and the youngsters are all ears as he's likely relating another story of past victories or comical situations he's miraculously survived. Pops was a nickname I proposed to him a few years ago. Under that red tent in the back of the pits, peering at me under the perpetual terry cloth headband and over the rim of his glasses, he looked at me approvingly with a big old toothy grin and glint in his eye and nodded, "I like that name." Celebrating his life and his many, you can't make this stuff up, narrow escapes from disaster, I recall the dunce of Clayton. John Krebs and I were on the bulkhead of the museum overseeing he and Mark Rothermall's wicked display of speed and noise, and it became clear that these two were blind to the black flags, which means to return to pits, for those of you that don't know. It became clear that the event, that the heat was over, and the flag represented that. It quickly became even clearer that they were averse to those pesky red flags, too. And then, to add further mayhem to the situation, the referee's flares shot across the bows were never seen and frankly ignored. John Edwards leaned over to me, sensing my moderate frustration, and quietly uttered, "They're going to run out of gas in a minute." The following morning drivers' meeting was sure to be a firestorm, as every attendee knew that the errant drivers were going to be on Nemo's full-on cannon fodder. Just as I started my briefing, APBA's rowdiest and oldest teenager ambled into the room with Mark in tow. Quietly and clearly humbled, the two violators eased into their seats, sporting 3-foot-tall newspaper dunce caps, to the overwhelming applause of the entire room. I have never forgotten that gut-splitting episode of his true sportsmanship. APBA Vintage and Historic has lost an icon. Despite his absence here today, we all know the impact he made on our sport and on our respective lives. I'm confident that each of you has a personal story to share of this giant of a man. He touched all of us, and for that, we'll never forget it. I have a hard time writing this without tears, as he was just that special to each of us. To abate that, I merely think of his big old smile and his wave to the spectators, as he once related his acknowledging thank you after so many heats was a simple bowed head in the direction of the spectators, shaking from left to right, followed by a big toothy grin and his exclamation within earshot, "I like that." Wild Bill, 1937, menace, Pops, your legacy and impact will be forever remembered and the subject of humorous stories to come. Today, from all of us at APBA and your vintage and historic family, we celebrate you and salute you, sir. You are special to each of us. Thank you for your friendship and all the memories. We'll see you at turn 1 when it's our time. Nemo.
Nice. Beautiful.